End of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers I look to buy and trade for this week. The first guy, Max Scherzer of the New York Mets. I know Max Scherzer, he's been out over a month now with the back injury here, but he's starting to get things going, throwing, and he's joined the team back in New York in this latest homestand here. So Scherzer on the season before he went down, he was still having a great year, 49 and 2/3, 5-1 record, 36 hits, 14 runs. 11 walks, 59 strikeouts, 5 quality starts, a 2.54 ERA, and a 0.95 whip. So right here, like I mentioned, he's been throwing off the mound with the oblique injury. And right here, looks like mid-July, Max Scherzer should come back to the rotation here for this New York Met team. So right now, with about 3-4 weeks left before he returns, this would be the perfect time to get him, because once he gets it going and he's pitching a few games here and he's back on track as Scherzer, he's going to be a peak value. So right now, while his value is low, this will be the time to get him, and the Mets need him desperately here. The Mets were up 10 games in first place June 1st, and now the Braves have went on a tear, winning 14 in a row, and now only 4 games up. So right here, they need Scherzer back. Fantasy owners need him back. And right now, while he's still recovering before getting to rehab outings, this is a perfect time to own his and get him before his value becomes too high once he pitches a few games. The next guy, Lucas Giolito of the Chicago White Sox. So Giolito, I've mentioned him early in the season as a guy to buy low, and I just feel like there's something missing with Giolito here this season. I know his strikeouts are still great here, but giving up runs, and his ERA is still mediocre, but I just feel like the last few games he's been off on the season, 53 and a third, 4-2 record, 55 hits, 23 runs, 22 walks, 70 Ks, and 4 quality starts with a 3.88 ERA and a 1.44 whip. So right here, Giolito, he's a talented pitcher, no doubt about it, and one of the better pitchers over the last few seasons in fantasy baseball. But like I mentioned, he's just not doing great. He's just a mediocre pitcher this season, when he was a guy drafted second, third round in most fantasy leagues. So right now, while he's trying to find his stuff a little bit here, this is a perfect time to go out there and get him, because second half of the season, I could see him go on a tear and finish the year with an ERA under 3. So the last few games here for Giolito, May 31st at the Jays, 4 2/3, got the loss though, 8 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 8 Ks. June 5th at the Tampa Bay Rays, 6 innings, got the win, 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks, a quality start. And then June 11th versus the Rangers, he only went 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 8 Ks. So the walks have definitely been a problem here for Giolito. And also going deep into ball games has as well only 3 quality starts since May 10 in 7 outings. So right now, he's pitching like a mediocre pitcher. We know the upside he could have, and I think Giolito definitely could turn things around, even though he does have a tough matchup tomorrow night at the Houston Astros. But right here, I would go out there and try to make a deal for Giolito, because if he could turn things around just a little bit and get his walks down, this guy is an elite starting pitcher for fantasy owners. The next guy, Mackenzie Gore of the San Diego Padres. So Gore this season, for the most part, he's been everything as advertised and more as a great option for fantasy baseball. Is one of the top prospects coming up in the Padres system. 50 and a third, 4-2 record on the season, 39 hits, 14 runs, 21 walks, 60 strikeouts, only 3 quality starts though, but a 2.5 ERA and a 1.19 whip. So it was smart for them to put him back in the rotation. I know for about a week or two he was in the bullpen, which made no sense to me here. This guy's got electric stuff, and he's a good pitcher, and he's been pitching gems, except his latest outing is where I think fantasy owners could find an opening and try to get him on a little bit of discount after getting racked. May 29th versus the Pirates, 7 innings, no decision, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 9 Ks, a quality start. June 4th at the Brewers, 6 innings, got the win, 3 hits, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts, a quality start. And then June 11th versus the Rockies, 2 1/3, got a loss, 5 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. So right here, obviously, tough outing, and it wasn't even at Coors Field. And guess what? Tomorrow night, once again, he versus the Rockies, but this time at Coors Field. So right here, he put a string of 3 great games in a row with Mackenzie Gore until getting bombed. So right now, after that bad outing, like I mentioned, I think you can get him on a little bit of cheap of a deal, and it's only a hiccup here. The only thing later in the season I would worry about is Gore, if he's going to be on an innings limit and a guy who they're just going to shut down or put in the bullpen. But right now, I still will go out there and try to get him. The next guy's Lancelin of the Chicago White Sox. So Lancelin finally made his season debut on June 13th at the Tigers, and it wasn't a good one. So fantasy owners have been waiting all season for Lynn to come back, and he had a bad outing, 4 1/3, 10 hits, 3 runs, and 4 Ks in that one versus the Tigers, and also arguing with third base coach Joe McEwen in that ball game. So Lancelin, we know he's been a bulldog over the last few seasons and a very solid starting pitcher. Last season he was 11-6 for the Chicago White Sox. And right here, this White Sox team, I know they're not having the greatest years, but still one of the better teams in the American League Central here. When it's all said and done, I still think they'll win this division. They got to get their hitting going, and they need Lancelin to get going here in his next outing, and Giolito to pitch a little bit better as well. So Lancelin, June 19th is his next outing at the Houston Astros, and obviously that's going to be not the easiest of matchups with the Astros with a good hitting ball club. But right here, Lancelin, I think he could get things going. It'll take him probably 3 or 4 games. And right now, after the bad debut this season and possibly a bad outing at Houston, I think after that, you could give up pretty much nothing in terms of fantasy to get Lancelin on your team. And I think this week would be the time to do it, especially after his next outing at Houston. If it goes sideways, and the 5th and final pitcher I look to buy and trade for is Hunter Green of the Cincinnati Reds. So Hunter Green, he's been improving over the last few outings, which I know. But he's also still available on 41% of waiver wires is Green. So on the season here for the electric rookie, 60 innings, 3-7 record. Does have a complete game shutout under his belt. 52 hits, 34 earned runs, 26 walks. Already 79 strikeouts in those 60 innings and 3 quality starts. So this guy has one of the nastiest and fastest fastballs in all of Major League Baseball. But there's been some ball games where he's been electric and some games where he's been hit like a piñata. So he's been up and down, especially with a bad red team this season here. But the last few games for Hunter Green's been pretty solid. June 1st to Boston, 3 2/3 got the loss, 6 hits, 4 runs, 8 Ks. June 6th versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. In that one, a rain-shortened ball game, 7 innings, fake complete game shutout. Got the win, a hit, 8 Ks, quality start. And then June 11th to the Louis Cardinal team, 5 innings, no decision. A run, a hit, 2 walks, 7 Ks. So right here, Green's pitching a little bit better. But like I mentioned, if he's out there on your waiver wire, you got to go out there and get him, no doubt about it, this week here. But even with a couple good outings under his belt, he's still a guy you could still get at a discount price before he really explodes. But right now, I think he hit his zone after figuring out the major leagues here the first 2+ months of the season. And why wouldn't you want a guy with electric stuff on your team? And his strikeouts are amongst the league leaders already this year with 79. So I would go out there and definitely try to get Hunter Green because he's got great stuff. He's getting better, it seems like, and more consistent as the outings are going. And right now, I would get him before he explodes with like a 10 strikeout game or legit complete game shutout. So that's a few pitchers I look to buy and trade for week 10 of the fantasy baseball season.